Dobar dan. My name's Hal Skaarup. I was a major with the Canadian National Intelligence Center in Sarajevo. And my job was to find the safe roads for our convoys and to keep people apprised of what might happen and places that they shouldn't go when it was a bad time to go. We weren't spies.
And I understand today you want to talk about maybe a bit of the lighter, even absurd side of your experience. What do you want to talk about today?
A lot of peculiar things, but we had a British general who'd served in Canada for a period of time. He had a bit of a soft spot for us, although he could be grumpy. He would call me in and he'd say, I need you to go brief a bunch of people. I don't want the Brits, the Americans doing it. They probably figure out what's going on and mistrust us. Go give these guys a briefing. Dark, stupid hours at this darkly lit location far into camp. So about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, I turn up at this place and there's just one little dull light bulb and my flashlight and my roll of maps. And I hear 2 or 3 guys come up behind me. They don't say anything, and I'm not sure if they're the ones I'm supposed to brief or not, so I don't say anything. We're sort of standing there, and all of a sudden, this one guy leans in to have a look at my face and said, Hal, is that you? I said, yeah. Mike? We served together in 4 Brigade years ago. And what are you doing here? And he said, well, I'm looking for a bunch of people who've got to go do something interesting. And he says, that's us. It's a very, very small world. So I gave him the briefing, and I've wondered ever since. Mike wound up becoming a general later on in Special Forces. But I've often wondered what they did. I had heard that there were a bunch of really bad people who were picked up by a bunch of our guys and a little bit of gunfire exchanged, but he never spoke about it. Other funny little things. I needed to know if the roads were safe, sending convoys up to the mountains and from Sarajevo to Velika Kudus and other camps. I talked to the Greeks, the Dutch, the Danes, the Turks, the Italians, Americans, Brits, and so on. But the Turks were Muslim and they lived in the area where a lot of this stuff was going on. So I went over to ask the colonel if he could tell me if the road was safe. And he leaned back and very quietly said, what has the weather been like? And I'm looking at him thinking, well, I don't know if that's the answer to the question. He said, you and I must have coffee. So he always gets this cup of Turkish coffee for us kind there, and you have one little, it's like a half a bowl of sludge. One sip and your eyes are this big for 3 days. And he wanted to know about my family. And we had quite a little chat, and then after a while he said, listen, in my army, a man who does not look after his family, we don't trust him because he won't look after us. And I like the fact that you do know something, you are comfortable with your family. So listen, they don't stick the landmines in the pavement. They like to use the small anti-personnel mines. So they slap it on the side of the mud, on the side of the road. If it rains heavily, it washes the mine onto the pavement. You blow a tire and you roll down a mountain there in Bosnia, lots of mountains. And that's the end of you. But if it's been hot and dry for the last couple of days, it would probably be safe to go, but we never use that route. Take this one. It's a little more difficult. It's a little longer, but you in a convoy will get there safely. That I got because I was willing to listen to what he had to say and have a cup of coffee like in New Brunswicker would. And that was one of those peculiar things in Bosnia. Little things keeping you alive.
Very interesting. Have you got maybe one more you can share?
Oh, golly. Turkish flag. People tried to steal the Turkish flag, and I wound up befriending the Turkish CO, and he basically told me about this incident of the British trying to steal the flag. And in one case, they got it. And his CO took him aside. You find the man who took the flag and shoot him, or I will shoot you.
Wow.
While I'm there, the British snuck over to try and steal another one. And a big kerfuffle, a lot of screaming, shouting, the boys running like crazy, laughing their asses off as I went right by our section. And I thought, holy shit. So the confusion was they came over and the soldiers were quite panicked because they knew that there'd be a terrible penalty for letting somebody steal their flag. I mean, you know, pistol whipping if they're lucky. And so I went bolting over to see the general and tell him what was going on. He said, you go see the Turk CO and get him to settle down. And, you know, interesting conversation to be had. But I basically said, look, these are our friends. I personally trust the CO of the Turkish in-section kind in there. We've been having wonderful conversations, and we would not do this. And if we find out who does it, we will make sure you get your flag back. But it was the kind of conversation you don't expect to have. But again, if you just suddenly had these people shut you out, the Turks being Muslim in the Muslim sector knew what was going on when we did not. And to lose that as a contact because some Brits swiped the guy's flag and the consequences of death for somebody, if it wasn't sorted out, was a real peculiar situation to find yourself in. And again, if we were not talking to each other, so much of that, I didn't know the Swedes and the Danes don't get along. I mean, the Swedes will tell you can stand on a soapbox and see all of Denmark, and the Danes will tell you the Swedes always get nosebleeds standing on the soapbox. The Turks and the Greeks don't get along, and the Turks pay attention to what the Muslims were doing, but they look down on the Bosniak Muslims. The Greeks are Orthodox Christian, the same as the Serbs, and so they kind of look down on everybody, and they don't trust anybody who doesn't sit on their side. The Americans could never seem to understand that blowing up the Serb tower and blowing up the Bosniak tower, but not blowing up the Croat tower, showed that you were taking sides. And when you try to have a conversation with them, well, you're being anti-American. Kiss off. We don't want to talk to you anymore, which was not helpful considering what we had to do. So it's these kinds of things. They're long and convoluted and whatever. They don't mean a lot in the short span of things. So what if a Canadian can't get along with an American? In my case, your guts would turn when you know that these guys know something's going on and they're not telling you.